Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are doing a update on power rankings. We're really doing an update on power rankings, but we're reviewing the NACE playoffs. Officially NACE playoffs aren't completely over. We'll have December 5th, noon Pacific playoff between Northwood and Bay State for the finals there, but the majority of the playoff tournament, the week that just happened this last weekend, is over, and we want to go over what happened, how to adjust our power rankings, all those sorts of things. So, for those that are curious, this is what power rankings looked like going into this. They do not include all of the schools in NACE because these power rankings are primarily culled down to the top 16 teams that made it into ABC. This is what they look like after I've taken a look at this tournament. If I were to add the two schools in here that probably or potentially deserve to be on here, that didn't make top 16 but did have good enough showings in NACE to be on here, it would be Winthrop right here and it would be Winthrop right here and Bryant Stratton right here. But we'll go over how we place people, why we place people, why people moved in just a moment. There was quite a bit of movement at the top, and that is rather interesting. So let's take a look at what happened in sort of the upsets of the sorts in this playoff tournament here. So we start with the upper quadrant, and the upper quadrant was the most interesting because there was only one. There was Bay State here, who everyone expected to pull off this win, but there was a big question of who's going to make it through here. This was the question. I had thought, hey, Illinois Orange, they made top 16. Rochester Rit Orange there did not make top 16 in ABC. Mizzou did not make top 16 in ABC. Can Illinois Orange make their way through? And the answer to that was no. First they dropped to Rit Orange, and then Rit Orange dropped to Mizzou. And the interesting about this is Illinois Overwatch had to beat Winthrop in their group and did beat Winthrop in their group in ABC or Activision Blizzard's Collegiate Homecoming Tournament. They were in the same group. They had to beat both Winthrop and Waterloo, and they did. So either Winthrop really didn't show up in groups there, or Illinois just didn't show up today. One of the two, but we had something where one team wasn't playing in their best in one of those situations because Winthrop, of course, then did go on to take down Mizzou. Or maybe it was a matchup issue. Maybe it was Illinois had a really good matchup against Winthrop. The playstyles clashed in a way that was in Winthrop's favor. But ultimately, Rit had a playstyle that didn't work well for Illinois. Mizzou took down Rit, and then we see this was relatively close, or pretty close as a 3-2 here, where Winthrop takes out Mizzou, but doesn't crush Mizzou, or anything along those lines. So this was potentially the interesting bit of Winthrop's performance in this tournament is quite a bit different than their performance in ABC. They go through here, ultimately get taken down by Bay State, which that everyone knew was going to happen, and then they go out down in lower bracket to Harrisburg, another top 6 school. No shame in that. So Winthrop's performance, or Illinois Orange's performance, however you want to look at it, that's sort of the first interesting bit that happened in this tournament. There we go. Oh, I think we had, where did they drop in? That was fine. Great. Other interesting piece we get into in Winthrop. Winthrop did top Lords. Again, Winthrop shows they perhaps deserve to place a little bit better. Lords also went out in group stage in ABC Collegiate like Winthrop did, but we've seen consistently in the coaches poll for NACE that people have been putting Lords ahead of Winthrop. So Winthrop making a bit of a statement here, showing that they're solid, showing that they're good. They did also in the play-ins beat Converse, which was quite nice. They beat Converse in a 3-2. That was definitely not expected. Converse did make top 16 in Activision Blizzard Collegiate. So Winthrop had a bit of a statement to make this tournament, and they did. Their only losses, close match there against Mizzou, but their only losses ultimately being to Bay State and Harrisburg, two of the top 6 schools. We'll see if anyone can crack the top 6 schools. The guesses for that would be probably SCAD. That's most people's pick for can anyone take down one of the top 6 schools. But ultimately, we will see. It wasn't going to be Winthrop today. Other very interesting things that happened is Northwood is back. Northwood had fallen, as we'd seen in previous rankings, down to the 3 spot. They'd fallen. They got jumped in NACE's regular season by Redbirds when Redbirds sent in their full varsity roster, Owl players and all, into what had previously been sort of their JV team. They'll tell us it was their varsity team, but they have two different varsity teams. But they added everyone to their roster, took down Northwood. Northwood also took a loss to University of Texas Dallas in Swiss play, late in Swiss play. That surprised everyone and was why Dallas was sitting here in the 2 spot, because hey, they had taken down Northwood, they'd earned it. Well, Northwood showed that they were back. They played through their portion of the bracket. They went ahead and took down UTD. Instead of going down, this time they win 3-1. Then they go up against Bay State, win 3-1 again. Northwood is back. They made their statement. They didn't drop matches to anyone on their way through this bracket. Then we move on to Converse. Converse. Converse is another one that, hey, Converse did lose to Winthrop in play-ins here, but I'm going to be honest, that surprised me a bit. Converse had the known weakness. It's known that they struggled a little bit with the fair comps, but hey, they've mostly done what they need to. They are very good when they're playing what they want to play. We see that Converse forced their way through here. A couple schools we would have expected them to beat. Run into Bay State. Going down there, no shame. But then Converse, when they do drop, play their way through OTSU. That's what we expected. And then they're ultimately able to 3-0 Boise. And this is going to move things around a little bit. Boise's been hanging out as we see on our power rankings towards the top of making moves. They've been mostly in that area all season. This is a tough loss, a 3-0 to Converse here. Converse have that loss to Winthrop. Oh, wait, okay, that's going to be a thing where Winthrop didn't make the top 16. Boise hasn't had a ton of stuff to prop them up in that spot. They've beaten teams that are a fair bit worse than them. But then as I've looked more into the Take TV play, I've mostly been paying attention to NACE, mostly been paying attention to the NACE, Activision Blizzard, some other lands, things like that. But as I looked closer into Take TV, I see they did have a couple other losses as well. So that, plus the Converse loss here, very strong showing from Converse. They then do go down to UTD, but they're, again, eliminated here by a combination of Bay State and UTD. They get close against UTD, that 3-2. They 3-0 Boise. That's going to go ahead and move them up. And then, as I said, Boise's going to go ahead and drop some spots here. So Converse slides up here. That's going to make sense. Okay, so that was the thing that we saw there. Other surprise, this one hurts me. This one hurts my soul. Northeastern did drop in a 3-2 to Bryant Stratton, another BSC, not Bay State. They both use that same abbreviation. I don't really think this should have happened. It pains me. I think, 7 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times Northeastern wins that, but that's not unheard of. Obviously, the Bobcats did beat Waldorf earlier this season. The Bobcats are on the map. They're just not in Activision Blizzard Collegiate, so they haven't had a ton of attention paid to them. They were a number 2 team out of their bracket. I forget who else was in their bracket in NACE, but it was one of the big 6. So it wasn't too surprising. They were a school that was in roughly that top 16 level. They're just not in Activision Blizzard Collegiate. Again, painful for me as Northeastern's coach to see, but this was not a, oh my goodness, there's absolutely no way that this happens. What, huge, wild upset there territory. Then we see that they went on to get eliminated by Harrisburg there. And then the other interesting thing that we saw here is Northwood took down Northwood did take down Harrisburg, but I was going to say Northwood took down UTD to get their revenge there. But we also see as we move through the bracket, UTD then wins their way over to lower bracket round 7, as does Harrisburg, 3-0 Winthrop. And Harrisburg goes ahead and takes down UTD as well, and then Bay State takes down Harrisburg. So UTD has perhaps fallen. Perhaps it was just a bad weekend for them. Perhaps they just had an extremely good performance when they caught Northwood in ABC. They were super prepped for it, and they couldn't prep for a tournament with a lot of opponent variety the same way. But one way or the other, UTD's time in this spotlight has fallen a little bit. They're still going to be a top 6 school, but they are going to fall a bit. They're kind of not going to have had a terribly impressive outing. I know that hurts to say when, hey, they're right here in lower round 7. They did get eliminated by a big 6 school, but they were potentially playing in the top 2, top 3 range here. That's not going to work if they take a loss to Northwood and a loss to Harrisburg, and then Harrisburg loses to Bay State here. So we look at this. we see some big adjustments at the top here where we have gone, hey, UTD falls from second to sixth. Bay State is going to jump up here. Maybe that doesn't feel fair to Maryville. Too bad. We're going to go ahead and do that. Bay State made a statement here, and Harrisburg is going to be here ahead of the Comets as well. So this is what we're looking at in terms of our adjustments. We really made some adjustments here. Again, it's a little weird. It's a little hard to do where Illinois Orange did beat out Winthrop there. Winthrop did beat out Converse. Winthrop would be up here if I put them in here. Like I could put them in here like this, but I'm just choosing not to do it because I know the next time we'll use this power rankings will be for, again, Activision Blizzard as we continue to look at that, because this NACE tournament is all but over. There's just one more final match to be played, between a rematch between Bay State and Northwood. So we look at this. Oh, excuse me. We look at this, we see the results. So a little hard to adjust down here in terms of what to do with Illinois Orange. Maybe they should move up. We talked about why we moved Boise. Valkyries, Converse, they made a good performance here. They're going to go ahead and move up off of that. And then we moved Banana Slugs. We didn't actually move the Banana Slugs down. They're in the same spot, the 10 spot here. We just moved them down to the making moves tier because that seemed a little bit more appropriate given that these two did win their group stages. Scad does seem like a true dark horse. Irvine has a little bit more legacy. Slugs didn't lose any matches. No one else won matches against people that the Slugs had lost to or anything like that. So they didn't really move down. We just slid them down a tier without sliding a spot, which is more appropriate for the relative power levels, at least as perceived by these teams. So that's what happened. Again, some interesting shakeups at the top here. Definitely, hey, we've seen movement here. Comments, so not quite riding as high here. Northwood making a statement as the number 2 team in collegiate Overwatch again. Bay State saying, as they've been saying all year, no, in scrims, we're one of the better teams in the Big Six. We're one of the better teams in the Big Six. We're definitely better than these two schools. Well, now they proved they were better than these two schools. So that's good to see for them. Down here, again, we have some interesting teams that are playing, we'll just say in this region here, making moves in good teams. We do see some teams that got eliminated, like Winthrop from the Activision Blizzard Collegiate, were able to put up quite a nice fight here. Converse, take that loss to the play-ins to Winthrop. Basically, Winthrop is throwing the bracket around, messing things up. They probably are a top 16 school. Again, they probably would live. Oh, that's not the right one. They probably would live right about here for now based on what we have. If we were putting them in here, which you are perfectly happy to do so, again, it would be Winthrop right in here and Bryant Stratton right in here, because those are really the only things that have changed, have happened, whatever, in terms of teams that aren't in ABC top 16 that are potentially showing that they're still a top 16 school based on the most recent results here. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that update. If you'd like to continue to see collegiate updates like this, my views on the power rankings based on how matches go, things like that. I do keep my views on the power rankings pretty tied to match results. Obviously, sometimes when I'm voting for things, I vote a little differently than what you see here, this sort of thing, because I will tie it a little bit more to what I actually see happening scrims. This I try to tie pretty closely to match results. But if you guys are enjoying, please drop a like. If you guys are looking to see more content like this, do feel free to subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Temporal out.